Tolbert, what are you doing?
Nothing. It's the fan. Is it the fan?
No.
Is Tolbert breathing into it?
You were breathing into it really heavy last week. It sounded like Darth Vader was here last week.
I wasn't breathing that heavy.
Should I start drinking Jaeger now?
Should we start with this? Should we lead with this into the podcast?
I mean, I literally had to we got him drunk. He didn't even describe his match last week.
He showed up to the bridal shower hammered.
Welcome to $2 Steak, a pro wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Varnum. Today, joining me as always, Big Mike.
What's up?
Cookie.
You.
And we finally got the boy back.
Yeah.
We got rid of that PvP, and we finally got Tolbert back.
It was almost like a real radio show or something like that when a guy's gone and filling in because someone's on vacation.
Yeah, but usually they have somebody that's competent and somebody
Sober.
that's sober. You know what, man? Honestly, and I've listened to it twice. I've listened to last week's episode twice. Once while editing it, and then once afterwards. You know, when it's finally on the sites that we send it to. I was very proud of PvP. He did well. He did well.
Pancake held his own.
He did. He didn't analyze his match that great. He talked
He
about
did it well, and then he just stopped.
He gave us 5 separate. And you know what, man? He came prepared, more so than our actual person that does the high spot.
Yeah, but I feel you were trying to sabotage him the whole time.
Why was I trying to sabotage?
Because you made him chug Jaeger.
No. That was his own doing.
That was his own doing.
Aaron handed him the bottle, and he chose to
So you
partake.
facilitated it.
Yeah, he participated.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't smoke weed, so he had to have something.
Yeah. Well, he did a good job.
He did a good job.
I was cooking my ass off and prepping veggie trays and cheese trays and getting everything ready for my fiance's bridal shower, which was awesome. I was the only guy there for a while.
And then after our podcast, we came over.
Yeah, the
rolled
boys
in.
came rolling in deep and brought a very inebriated Davenport.
So Davenport. What? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how long did that Costco trip take you?
So the Costco trip, it was pre-Dorian. So Dorian, if you guys didn't follow what happened to the Cape Fear region of North Carolina, we were kind of side-swiped by a hurricane. And last Saturday was one of the last Saturdays before the hurricane hit. Hurricane hit on Thursday, and a lot of people were there trying to get their stuff. So I took one for the team. We were going to watch All Out that night, so we needed to get some food to cook before we started watching the pay-per-view. And I drove Davenport to the wedding reception, or the wedding
Bridal shower.
bridal shower. I took Davenport because at that point he was unable to drive.
Yeah.
Davenport was
we were discussing this, and I was like, Matt, you really should just ride with Aaron, to the shower.
Matt was drunk enough that I had to drive him to the wedding shower, and I knew that he could probably sober up by the time I went to Costco. But unfortunately, Tolbert had a lot of alcohol at the bridal shower, so he kept drinking.
Oh, God.
And we did shotgun some beers.
We did
as well.
shotgun. I even shotgunned a beer.
Yeah.
So I took him to Costco, and at that point, I thought it would be funny to have him try every sample. And I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm like, you should go try that sample. You should go try that sample.
Hey, son, go over there, get one.
And at first, it started off, he was getting, we were in the hot food section, and every single time, drunk Davenport got some sample, he'd eat it, and he'd say, oh, that's hot. That's hot. And then it became a running joke. So, we would be going over to, the Propel vitamin water sample, and he would, drink it. And, it's just a little old lady handing him a sample, and he's like, oh, that's hot. That's hot. That's hot. And the lady's so confused, and I'm over there shitting my pants laughing. And, just trying to herd him throughout Costco was very fun. There's a man that I think that he buys a Costco membership just to sit on the massage chair because every single Saturday,
worth it. Yeah.
every Saturday that I go to this Costco, I see this same old man. So I went with Haven probably about a month ago when I first got the membership, and he was there like sleeping, and it's just a baby boomer jiggling on a chair. and Haven's like, I think that man's dead. And I'm like, I look at him and I take a picture and I'm like, yeah, that man's definitely dead. So we get to the Costco that Saturday and I walk in and I see the same baby boomer shaking vigorously on that chair. And I'm like, holy shit. This guy, instead of going to a masseuse, this guy pays $60 a year and just goes and lays on the massage chair for his massage that he needs. And you can't fault him.
That's the type of thing that you only obtain through years of wisdom and like knowledge. It's like as you get older, you're like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do.
You know he gets a hot dog on the way out because I
Definitely gets a hot dog. I always do.
If the line's not big,
or pizza, or slice
did you guys
pizza.
know this? You can buy the food at the register and then just go give your ticket to the thing and pick it up a lot quicker.
Costco tips. This is
My wife
the pro
told me that.
Costco podcast right here.
Yeah, dog.
Life hacks.
Life pro tips.
All right, so we also had a hurricane this week.
Yep.
The hurricane was, not as bad as last year's hurricane. Last year's hurricane fucked us.
Yeah, this one just turned east kind of right before it was supposed to make landfall.
We thought we were going to get a little fucked for a moment, but then,
when it jumped up to a category.
Well, you guys did get fucked up.
Yeah, we did get hammered with Davenport and his girlfriend and Palmer. They live a couple streets over, so they had to stock the bar party. Like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh God, I forgot about that. That's the reason why they had so
there's
much.
copious amounts of booze and mixers to go along with it.
Nice.
So
And you had a professional there. Tolbert was
we started
making so many drinks. I was so jealous. I was looking at all the Instagram
God,
pictures and texts, and I was like, golly, I wish
we
I
started
was there.
making like pictures for everybody and just made big pictures of like tiki style drinks and stuff like
Jesus.
that.
So what
Christ.
compelled Davenport to get his mullet hot ironed and
Yeah, so I get a video.
Yeah.
I was in Brunswick County because I had an obligation to go back to work. Like the next day, I had an obligation that if anything like were to happen, I'd have to go out, get video of it, and try to keep some good content for my job. And I had spotty internet. We lost power for 12 hours in Brunswick County. Brunswick County got hit
a tornado.
Yeah, we had a bunch of tornadoes. We got hit a little harder than Wilmington did, and I get just a screenshot like on our Messenger app. If it cannot download the video, it's going to show you just like a picture of like what the video is. And I see Davenport with like, I guess it was a hair curler inside.
It was a flat iron.
A flat iron. Okay.
Yeah, so we all sat around the kitchen table just drinking, kind of half waiting for the power to go out. We thought it was going to get bad for a moment. So we're just drinking, sitting around the table, telling stories, playing dirty charades and stuff like that. And someone breaks out a flat iron or mentions a flat iron. I don't know where it came from.
That's the whitest shit I've ever heard.
So I think we joked about
that is the white. A party breaks out and somebody breaks out a flat iron.
So I think someone joked about flat ironing his mullet, and so Nikki went and grabbed one. Then Katie knows a bunch of tricks, so she started doing little ringlet curls with it.
Oh,
but Aaron's like, I can't get the video. Please describe it for me. And how did I say it?
You gagged.
I did gag a little bit, but I was like, they're straightening his mullet with a straight iron, and then they're curling it. The straight hair looked really trashy. The curl hair had some body to it. It actually looked kind of classy. Are we going to spend the whole podcast talking about Davenport and his mullet?
I think so. I think the whole episode it's going to be
20 minutes.
You know what, man? Like this whole episode is going to be. We have a very specific. It's a theme week here on $2 Steak. All right, so our for the tie up this week, we're going to talk about All Out. We're going to bring a little bit of All Out into this conversation. All Out, your thoughts, your prayers. What did you think about All Out, Mike?
I enjoyed it. It was a solid pay-per-view. They had some really good matches. They had a couple. Well, actually, I don't know if there was any matches where it was kind of like a big stinker. I definitely don't care. For, like,
the Dark Order.
Well, that I didn't really care for it too
yeah.
much. The Joshi stuff just isn't for me.
Was that the Best Friends versus the Dark Order?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay.
Right.
overall,
Jim Cornette said the fat guy in the Dark Order looks like he's got a thyroid issue. He's like, this fat motherfucker with a thyroid issue.
that's where like I think it was. There's a couple things I would change in terms of like how they did it and when they did stuff. And again, I think it's pay-per-views don't need to be 4.5 hours long.
They don't,
No,
and
they really
that
don't.
is to the fault of
Some of those matches
WWF.
could've
And
been
it
scrapped.
literally, yeah, they feel like they need to jam everything into it. And I really, and you can see it every pay-per-view I've ever watched. The crowd dies by the end, and you're putting your biggest.
Oh, we do too. We're falling asleep at
You're putting
home.
your biggest match at the end.
Yeah.
It's like you need to condense it a little bit, concentrate it up. I think.
I think once the TV show comes out in October, I think that's when the matches. I'm sorry, the pay-per-views might get shortened. Hopefully, that's what happens.
yeah, 'cause-
Hopefully, because 4 hours is a long time.
I really enjoyed that they put the Kenny Omega match and Pac match early.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
match.
that was like
'Cause
second or
I
third.
was actually able to kind of like watch it without being like the whole time looking at my phone. I enjoyed the match. I really like Pac. I'm still not completely sold on Kenny Omega.
I don't know either. I like Pac.
Kenny
Pac did
Olivia?
a really
Yeah,
good
Kenny,
job.
he called him something else this week. But like Kenny Omega's like too video gaming for me
Showy.
and showy. Too many. I
Until he
don't know.
watches a lot of anime. And
Yeah,
stuff
he's
like
very
that,
anime.
yeah.
That's what I like. It's like a guy that grew up watching Dragon Ball Z way too much.
Yeah.
Who was the really petite Asian girl? I don't know her name.
God, why did you have to ask me?
Like, she's
yeah.
like 80 or 100
name-
pounds.
But that's where like I was telling Aaron, like I'm literally
match was stupid.
I'm literally just like, dude, I don't want to watch this.
yeah, that's what I was. Yeah,
it's like in no
didn't
way,
care.
shape, or form is this entertaining for me.
no, not at all.
And I know they have a demographic that probably really want to watch that, but I don't think it needs to be on a pay-per-view.
I think it's cool that they're bringing it in and like trying to introduce audiences to it because honestly, the Japanese wrestling that I watch is New Japan or some of the older AJPW stuff, All Japan stuff. And being able to see, like, be exposed to the Joshi stuff, I like appreciating it, but like you guys said, it is a little
It doesn't need to be 18
Tiring,
minutes.
man.
It does not need to be an 18-minute match,
No.
and it's a little
Oh,
tough
no.
watching somebody that's 98 pounds, do a crossbody, and
Yeah.
it's a little
Yeah.
tough to
Yeah.
kind of get.
Pulls
into
me
it.
out. It definitely pulls me out of the match.
Going back to the Pac Omega thing, I thought, and I know they've been talking about trying to get him over there. I think that was a solid replacement for
Moxley.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think he did really well. I mean, he actually pinned Kenny, so that's like the one thing.
No. He made him submit.
That's right. Either way,
Oh, yeah, he did
that's the
that,
one thing.
bro.
Is like Kenny Omega hasn't won a match yet,
No.
and they've been harping on that wins matter. So I'm interested to see where they go with that whole storyline.
How did you feel about Cody Rhodes going over on the Perfect 10?
I think
Oh yeah.
It kind of killed it.
It kind of killed it killed the story a little bit. So they're gonna have to come back on TV and like really, he's gonna have to like fuck Cody up or something like
Well,
that.
Sean
Or-
Spears at that point, he is one of the only really genuine heels.
and that's what I was gonna say. It was an intriguing storyline and still can be, but and they're playing into it now that Cody is undefeated, and
he lost.
that was a tag match.
Okay.
So he's going to be then facing Jericho. He's the next opponent for Jericho. And they're probably doing it because they're both named stars. And it makes sense. And I'm sure Sean Spears will come in and fuck it up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's going to come in.
There'll be a massive triple
and
threat
that'll,
match or
that'll
something like
kinda,
that.
play into it a little bit. I mean, I loved the Arn Anderson bit of that whole thing. Like,
But that was just a cheap pop,
Yeah,
almost.
you
You
know
know?
what? But who
Well,
cares?
hopefully they may tie him in. Hopefully they tie him in and bring him in.
Yeah, I think so.
slam
Yeah.
the shit out of that guy.
Yeah.
It was good to see Arn Anderson come out.
We-
Arn
we- we were
Anderson
just
looked a
double
little
A.
thick.
Yeah, we were both
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's Arn Anderson," and he's just like, "Yeah, he's looking a
He
lot."
got a
thicker.
wi- He's looking a little thicker. I mean, the guy's like actually the age that he looks at
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
point.
Yeah,
You know?
he definitely looked like he should be like on a John Deere. drinking beer.
Tully looks really good for his age.
Tully looked great.
Yeah.
I thought it looked great. Yeah, and the whole like MJF bit and stuff like that. That was interesting.
good. That was good stuff.
It was an
and they're
intriguing-
teasing that he's like next in line maybe for a title shot down the road somewhere a little bit. Did you guys notice
Well,
that?
they're also they're putting that kind of thing like, will he? Won't he turn
Well,
on
everybody thought
Cody
he was
Rhodes?
Cody.
Cody,
Cody,
yeah.
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 I just have a feeling that Cody's going to get the title. MJF's going to turn on him.
Yeah.
There's that title shot that I'm talking about.
I think overall, me and Aaron both said it. Like after watching All Out, AEW's gonna be fine.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I think so.
As long as they're not done with their money and that sort of
Yeah.
thing, they're putting on a product that's good quality. Apparently, pre-show on Friday night at 10 o'clock had 350,000 views. Like
with no
advertisement, no nothing.
Wow.
And if you could draw that on a Friday
Yeah.
in like a dead slot
during
like,
high school football season.
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it's a dead time zone or time slot, I think, and they'll be fine. And NXT is not going to pull from them, particularly in the first couple months, I think. So I don't know. I'm excited for it.
There's some tweaks and stuff that like I would like to see that maybe brings in a different audience and brings in more.
The AAA stuff that they're doing, I think, is really cool.
I
The
think it's neat.
Lucha Bros, I like that. I like them a lot. I know that match was a very planned out, and it looked like it was like spot.
And I saw one of the Jackson brothers die. That
Yeah,
day.
oh my god, dude, he
And
killed
that's
his
where
legs.
It's entertaining. Again, like you can, if you're just gonna have a spot show, it doesn't need to be a 25-minute spot show.
Yeah,
I mean, was that the one that we were arguing? I was like, dude, this is gonna be 25 minutes long.
Yeah, we tried to we were putting bets on when the match was going to end.
Yeah.
And I went under and you went
ridiculously
over, and it was like right in the middle of.
You kept modifying your time.
No, you're full of shit.
Yeah, you did. You
All right, I modified it.
but yeah, it was. If you're gonna do a spot show, do a 12-minute spot show. I don't know. It's
Cornette was talking about it on This Week, where he was saying that like it just felt like every bump that could possibly happen got taken away because of that match. And then you've got a main event after that, like a main event that's supposed to be this big deal.
yeah.
But the whole audience just blew their load, and
And you have a bunch of idiots on the internet that are like, "Oh, the ladder match should have been the main event." It's like, so you're going to put a title match for another promotion as the main event over top of your inaugural title? Like, you're
Come on,
fucking
man,
idiots.
get out of here.
Right.
And so JR said the same thing.
maybe there could have been some buffers and different things that they could have done, like rearranging of the match order that would have made that a little bit more exciting. Maybe like if you go to live shows, there is usually an intermission, and after that intermission they have a big spot show match that kind of gets the audience back up and kind of gets them going again, and then you have a buffer match and then your main event. That's kind of how like they structure those things, and WWF is really good with that sort of thing. So maybe it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, and Tony Khan definitely seems like a guy who's in tune with trying to figure out what his audience wants. He's not Vince McMahon telling the wrestling community what they should enjoy. He's going to be like kind of like absorb the comments and all that sort of stuff, and still probably head in the direction that he thinks is best, but at least listen to what people are saying.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, boys, but no Marvez.
No, well,
Thank Christ. There was no fucking Marvez. They signed Golden Boy, who was there for Fight for the Fallen.
Yeah.
And way better than Marvez. Marvez
my
is
God, Marvez
trash.
is horrible,
Every time I
dude.
see his fucking face, I just want to punch it. Hate that guy. He is on my list with Dick Vitale and Brent
fucking
Musburger.
hate Dick Vitale.
You don't like
commentators
Musburger?
I fucking hate.
I
yes.
hate Dick
I hate Chris
Vitale.
Collinsworth.
Let's go Dookies! Let's go Dookies!
Yeah, so if those three got in a fucking car and drove it off a cliff, I'd be pretty happy.
We're going off a cliff, baby!
'Cause now you see there's more to life than what we learn in school. The fast times aren't the last time, sugar. Let's not blow you cool. You don't want no fancy dance to take you by surprise.
All right, for our first matchup of the evening, Mike got a little bit dirty south this weekend. We're straight from the Smoky Mountain region. He got the Thrillseekers versus the Heavenly Bodies from a Night of Legends. Mike, tell me about your match.
Yeah, so it's Night of Legends, 1994, Knoxville, Tennessee. So I've heard a little bit about this. What was it exactly, though? Was it just like a one-time show where they brought everybody back? Or?
So Smoky Mountain Wrestling, it was a big show that they built to. Like Cornette had been building to it for a couple months. He brought back some of the big names that were big names in Tennessee wrestling. Some of the older guys, and he wanted to kind of bring like honor to them. It was almost like a Hall of Fame sort of presentation ceremony before that. And it was just a way to kind of honor Tennessee wrestling.
Okay.
And also a way to like build to a big show for these guys at Smoky Mountain who maybe have not built to a big show before.
Okay. So it starts out, Heavenly Bodies come out with Cornette. Cornette is wearing sequined gold pants and a cummerbund.
So that was his WrestleMania 9 outfit.
It was terrible.
It was amazing.
It's ugly.
It was amazing in an ironic sense. At one point, commentary says that he must have stopped at the late Liberace's garage sale.
And who said that?
JR said that. JR is on commentary for this. A young JR, and he's definitely like faster paced when he was younger. Like he's just like boom, 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 one-liners and matches, like kind of play-by-play kind of stuff. But yeah. Tom Pritchard's look, not the best.
Dr. Tom is amazing.
He has this like classic Tennessee mullet, I guess.
This is your second Heavenly Bodies match. I forgot I gave you one earlier.
I called it a bowl cut mullet because it's just like straight across the front, and then he's got the when the mullet hair gets to your back, that's trash. Yeah. That's Joe Dirt. Anyway, but yeah, definitely. Contrasting contrasting appearances for the Heavenly Bodies versus the Thrillseekers. Thrillseekers are smaller guys.
Very youthful.
Yeah, young, definitely young. Their entrance starts with their music, like a badass music, but fucking, I think it's a Firebird. It's revving its engine. Lights go out. Thrillseekers jump the bodies inside the ring, and match starts. Right off the bat, the Thrillseekers doing some big moves. Jericho tosses his partner, who's Lance Storm. Yeah, off a ring post onto the bodies, and that's kind of how it went for the first half. Was the young guys were kind of getting the bodies, outside the ring, and just kind of Cornette's all pissed off. But after that first move, then they zoom in on Jericho, and commentary tells you that he broke his arm. Recently, or the night before. They said motorcycle accident.
In 24 hours, which was actually, the story behind this is very interesting. So what happened was Jericho, before the event started, early in the day, comes to the arena, is trying to practice a shooting star press. And he goes up to practice this. This is probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He's going there. He's getting there, trying to do some stuff. He goes up, does his move, he lands it wrong, he lands it on his arm, and he looks at his arm and he's like, it's not supposed to look like that. It burns a little bit, looks at it, and then Lance Storm apparently comes up and is like, holy shit, dude, I think you broke your arm. So they take him to
a local medical facility.
And so he tells Lance, tells Jim, he's like, no, we're going to be there. We're going to be at the match. Everything's going to be fine. This whole thing, we're going to be fine. He takes him to the emergency room, whatever. The doctor looks at him and he's like, holy shit, dude, you broke your arm. We're going to have to put it in a cast. And the guy's like, yeah, you're not thinking about doing any wrestling later. He's like, no, I'm going to be fine. I'm just going to go sign some autographs, right? Obviously, that's not the case. So gives him a couple aspirin, which plays into later in your match.
Yeah, so they did not cast. He's wearing a Velcro splint on his arm. They said it was a motorcycle accident. But Jericho's wrestling decently well. Obviously, bodies are helping sell the stuff, but he does a couple big, huge single-arm body drops, right?
The body's amazing.
Phenomenal. And I know the bodies are jumping into that, really helping him out. And then... So, for the most part of the beginning of the match, like I talked about earlier, they're getting the bodies outside, and Cornette's all pissed. Lance Storm's doing a bunch of the work. I mean, he's doing the majority of it because Jericho has a broken arm. So about halfway in, probably 10 or 13 minutes, the bodies actually start getting some offense in on Storm, and they're just doing big, huge pounding type moves. A lot of tandem style moves, which was really cool. So you're actually getting some tag team wrestling, especially old school style stuff. And again, Storm's absorbing most of that because Jericho can't. And then Jericho gets tagged in, gets tossed out of slammed, and then dragged out of the ring, and then tossed into the barricade and gets busted wide open. And then his face starts pouring blood, it's gushing out.
So explain this. What I said earlier about him going to the medical facility.
Yeah, so aspirin is a blood thinner.
Right.
Yeah, so if you're on aspirin and you bleed, you get a cut, you're going to bleed more. Yeah.
So people thought that he badly bladed?
Yeah.
He didn't. It's just the blood thinner.
Yeah, well, it's the blood thinner. Your heart's pumping, your adrenaline's going. Every time your heart beats, you're squeezing blood out of your face. And if it's thinner, then yeah, it's just going to pour. And it was pouring down his fucking face. Match continues. Cornette gets a couple cheap shots in. Bodies continue to pound away now on Jericho, whose face is basically painted red. And I thought we get to kind of the ending here, and I like the way they did it. So the bodies are just beating the shit out of Jericho at this point. He's covered in blood. Ref keeps like pulling the body just off of him, and like they keep going in on him. And the ref stops the match, and because he thought Jericho had enough, and then Jericho's like pleading and begging with him, let it continue. Jericho like at one point must have wiped his face on the ref's shirt because his shirt goes completely red on the sleeve. So then the ref restarts the match, and Jericho wins with a quick roll up of the bodies. It gets the W. At first I was kind of like, eh, but I like the way they did it because it let the older famous kind of group get the win, right? So they're beating the shit out of this young kid. They got him all bloody, and then they let the young guys kind of go over at the end,
right?
With a cheap little thing, but it doesn't take anything away from the bodies, and it kind of boosts up Jericho and Storm a little bit. So I kind of liked how they did that.
And at that point, the Heavenly Bodies had a run in WWF.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about.
So, like, after your WrestleMania, like, I sent you, was it a WrestleMania? I think it was a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam match that I gave you with the Heavenly Bodies against the Steiner Brothers.
Yeah.
And, I think it was SummerSlam. But that had already happened. Like, these guys had a big run in WWF, and Jim Cornette called in a favor, brought these guys in to come in and make this up-and-coming tag team, the Thrillseekers, look good. He wanted to put these guys over big and make these guys look like a threat to the Smoky Mountain wrestling tag team division.
Okay.
Wanted these guys to become stars.
So Smoky Mountain was still going then, right? It wasn't just like a...
No, yeah, it was definitely going. Like, this was like peak Smoky Mountain.
Okay. And the match is interesting too. Obviously, they couldn't probably do what they wanted to do just because Jericho was in the situation he was.
Oh, dude, we got it pulled up right here,
Yeah.
man. It is... Oh,
It's
blood
gnarly.
is everywhere.
It's gnarly.
It's very much contrasting styles. So the Heavenly Bodies are like that old school tag team, all that sort of stuff. And you could tell that Jericho and Lance Storm are going to be more of that kind of what you'd see nowadays in tag team wrestling, where it's all they're working together, but it's really just kind of like one-on-one kind of stuff. So it's kind of a nice contrast. I wish Jericho hadn't broken his arm because I would have liked to seen some of this stuff.
I think a lot of people... I think Jim Cornette wished that he had not broken his arm.
But overall, it was a good match. It was solid. It didn't feel like it was a 20-minute match, which was kind of cool.
And it was a quick match. It was a fun match. The Heavenly Bodies put the heat on Lance Storm, then put a little bit of heat on Chris Jericho. You know, got the Thrillseekers for a really nice comeback. It was a good match. It wasn't like the best match in the world, but at this point, Chris Jericho had wrestled in Canada. I think this is before his run in Japan. And Jericho, this is an early Jericho match, and you can see that this guy's got some promise. Mm. What did you think? Could you see what you know of Jericho now? Could you see like shades?
Yeah, he's definitely like animated. He's clearly like a good worker. The one thing that I didn't want to call it a botch, but he goes to slam Jimmy Del Rey, I think, but he's got to do it with one arm, and Jimmy doesn't like jump it very well, or I forget how it happened, but it looked like he landed on his fucking head, like on his neck,
right?
But they cut away right before because I had to go back and look at it, but even that, I mean, again, those body slams, all that sort of stuff he's doing with one arm, that's impressive, and you could definitely tell that this kid was going to go somewhere.
So Chris Jericho, we didn't mention it earlier, he's like the theme of this week's episode. We have, in honor of his win and a little bit of the bubbly, last week, we are doing 3 Chris Jericho matches in 3 different periods of his working career, and this is an early match. So later on, we're gonna have 2 other matches with Chris Jericho a little bit later. Nothing current because everybody is, hopefully up to date with what Chris Jericho's doing. Do you like Chris Jericho as a worker?
Yes.
Thank you, Mike. All right.
What were you expecting? Some deep insight? I don't know.
What are your final thoughts about this match?
I think I already gave him. Like it was a solid match. Contrasting styles overall was pretty good.
All right. Now, I guess the social media update.
Why are you talking like this?
I don't know.
Okay. Social media update. This week provided a lot of great content. Tolbert actually put some effort in to his Instagram posts. He had 5 or 6 really good posts, like quality things. He got a couple more followers. He's at 77. I encourage you to look at the Instagram because they were pretty funny. You can see Davenport's mullet getting curled. You can see us shotgunning beers at the bridal shower, which I won while holding my baby.
Elliot also wearing a Sting mask.
A young baby Sting mask. There's a picture.
I love that picture.
There's a picture of Howard Varnum
Eating pork rinds and pacing at my house while I was at the hurricane.
Overall, great job, Tolbert. 77 followers on Instagram, Twitter.
That's good, man. How many? Was that a net gain this week?
Yeah. No, Tolbert's always good for a couple every week.
Oh yeah, organic.
Yes.
Twitter.
Explain it.
Good wholesome.
Tell him, Tolbert.
Friends that will actually look at our content.
Yeah, Twitter. Hey boys, Twitter. We have 163 followers.
Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Are you kidding me?
He's gonna lose half of them this week. Just all
I don't
bots
think so. Dude, I will say I've been following a lot of like-minded individuals who tend to follow us back
On Fridays.
and Aaron gives me shit, but on Friday, I was following a lot of like-minded individuals, and our content and engagements and impressions went up through the roof. We got a couple retweets, couple likes.
That's good.
The more people we get our content in front of Tolbert, I think it's just a better. It's better overall for everybody.
A tip of the hat to the hard work you're doing, sir.
You can just see the defeat in Tolbert's eyes. I made a big push. Not gonna lie.
Every time somebody says I made a big push, it makes me think of poop. I made a big push.
Yeah, but we had some. We were very interactive. We got a shout out from a longtime follower. He's been following us for a while. He'd hit us up a couple months back too about our Kenny Omega and Ibushi stuff.
That was the guy?
That was the same guy. Yeah.
Send him a WCW pack.
Why don't you?
Because I'm not to be trusted to do that.
All right, if I remember, I'll hit him in our DMs. If not, hey man, shout us back in the DMs with your address.
It goes down in the DM.
Well, maybe. I guess.
All right.
I don't know.
He doesn't know what that means. He doesn't know what that means.
Dad, now I don't get those references.
It's a rap song.
Definitely wouldn't get that. So, the one thing I was positive about, no negative feedback for Peanut Butter Pancake. Nobody.
Yeah, we get some good positive feedback for him.
Most people don't care enough to actually talk shit about us on Twitter or Instagram, which is nice. Thank you guys. The poll for Cookie's weight, 5 votes.
5 votes?
Nobody thinks that he weighs 225 pounds.
Okay. Well, if we would have brought the scales, then
I
we
fluctuate.
I fluctuate 40 pounds.
Our best of the week. I really personally enjoyed, and this was Cookie's idea, but our little bit of the bubbly after the rugby match, because 2 of us partook in the rugby match yesterday. That was on a terrible turf field. It was 95 degrees. It was fucking terrible. And Spear always forgets enough water, so we never have enough water. And when we do, it's piss warm. But we trudged through. We tied the game, and then Cookie and I had some bubbly afterwards.
Was it real bubbly?
No, the bar. We were at Oktoberfest at a bar. They did not have actual bubbly. I had to get ginger ale in wine glasses because it was a shitty bar.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah,
okay.
looked good though, right?
Yeah, look good.
It was refreshing.
We got 19 engagements on that.
Nice.
166 impressions, so not a ton, but we have 163 followers now. So 19 engagements.
Tolbert is like shell shocked.
He's just seething right now, man. I can feel the heat.
I went to Cape Fear last night, and he just looks at me. He's like, "How'd you do it?"
To your credit, Tolbert, I looked up how to buy Instagram followers. It's not too expensive, I promise.
He's got a wedding to pay for. The other best of the weeks, I would say. Well, I already talked about the poll for Cookie's weight. My $2 bake reference did really well. I got a couple hundred impressions, a couple hundred engagements. I made some Italian bread for a party we had on Friday.
So, Also this week, back to the cookie weight poll. Can you see who voted?
I might be able to pull that up, yeah.
All right. We got a follower this week. Her name is Haven. And she voted on your weight.
Oh, gosh. What did she say?
She did not vote what you voted for. And she wanted me to let you know that she does not think you're 225 pounds.
I told you I fluctuate.
5
Between
votes.
225 and 235.
Actually, I don't think we can see who voted.
Oh, well, that stinks.
That's
That's sad.
unfortunate. But anywho, I know I voted. Davenport voted. Haven voted.
I definitely voted.
So
nobody outside of our group.
Where's the scale at? Where's the scale?
we don't.
But that's a social media update. We're closing in on Tolbert going through a table.
Tolbert, tuck your chin.
Start
Tuck your
practicing.
What kind of move are you going to do
Flat back.
through the table?
I think
Do you know
Power
yet?
bomb.
I was thinking power bomb, but that risks concussion. I think I might just go choke slam.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want to count.
Chokeslam's
I don't want to
solid.
count my chickens before they hatch.
Okay.
Oh, they're hatching right now.
We got they're incubating. We got to get to 200.
Yeah, that's fair.
As soon as he comes back from his honeymoon, he's going through a fucking table.
Tolbert, buy these Instagram followers, man. Buy the followers.
Hey, the race is not over yet.
Thank God at that point he will have made that baby already.
Make that baby.
For our second match of the evening, the strong style with Cookie. Cookie, you've got Jericho versus Lance Storm. So the two people that were in the match before as tag team partners against each other.
I learned that while I was looking down the rundown, and I looked up Thrillseekers. So I was like, "Who the hell are the Thrillseekers?"
I didn't know that either. I didn't know that was a
Yeah,
Jericho
I didn't
thing.
know that was
I
a
knew we were
thing.
doing Jericho theme week, but I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know he was in a tag team.
Oh, whoa,
Are you now
Mike,
watching
Mike,
his
what
match?
are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pulling up. You gave him another Hammerstein Ballroom match?
I didn't realize it.
Yeah, that's the third.
I didn't realize it until afterwards.
3
That's
weeks
the
in a
third.
row, he's got a Hammerstein Ballroom
Oh
match.
my gosh, man!
I did have another match.
And you said we were
picked.
going back to Japan. It's ECW.
No, I'm sorry.
You're a terrible
I
host.
was-
You're
I
a
was
terrible
gonna give
host.
him a match, but it was the only real matches I could find for Jericho in Japan were him against Chris Benoit, and I don't really want to go down that road again.
Oh yeah, the pale side of the ring. Can't deal with that again.
That pilot just never got picked
Yeah,
up.
just never got picked up. That's not going
Aaron
anywhere.
feeling uncomfortable during his match choices that week is the entire premise of that show.
All right, so let's pick it up. ECW One Night Stand. I assume this is like 05.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
And I think it's the same night as that Mike Awesome match in Tanaka.
Oh, really?
I think
Same
it is,
night?
yeah.
Oh, great. So it's Lamp Storm and Dawn Marie.
Dawn Marie.
Dawn Marie, yeah. Against the Lionheart, Chris Jericho. And this is a throwback to his older gimmick from the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Corazon de Leon. as he was called.
Corazon de Leon.
He was called in Mexico, which I thought was pretty cool. So fun fact for me, Chris Jericho is one of my favorite superstars. Before Finn Balor, there was Chris Jericho. He was my guy.
It sounds like a girl like telling which Jonas brother.
In his diary, he writes them in and then crosses them out.
There's a heart around it.
He wrote Rocky really big.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna cross my next like 3 sentences. All
Oh no, we have to hear
Tell
it.
us. Do tell.
Anyway, I was just gonna fangirl a little bit about Jericho, but
Keep
never
going,
mind.
man.
No, it's too
no.
late
I
now.
want to know because
No.
we didn't get to talk about him that much.
We really didn't.
So
but
tell-
like,
let us hear your emotions.
Honestly, I think the coolest thing about Jericho is that he's always been able to reinvent himself, and I think that's one of the coolest
we
things
were just
about
talking the whole bubbly thing. Like the dude gets things
Over.
over. He gets
does.
everything over.
It doesn't
Everything he
matter
does.
what he says anything.
And part of it, if you go back to the whole list thing,
the list
got over because he was like, "Hey guys, like I'm going to do this gimmick. Can you sell that you don't want to be on the list?"
Right.
And then like you look at like was it Xavier Woods? Like the one little gimmick. He's like, "You just made the list," and he like freaks out.
Yeah.
It's like, no. It's like and maybe it's like the respect in the locker room that he has and all that sort of stuff. But if you can get those guys to kind of sell it too, I mean. But he does. He gets everything he touches turns to gold.
Drink it in, man.
Drink it
Ayatollah,
in.
rock and roller, Raw is Jericho. Like anything this man pretty much says is gonna get over. It's the craziest thing.
You know what though? He can't get a thank you.
No thank yous from AEW.
No thank yous for Jericho.
Those paramedics almost let him bleed out.
While he's bleeding to death.
Idiots.
Nice hair, idiot.
Do you remember when like Stupid Idiot was his thing?
Stupid idiot. Yeah.
Stupid Idiot. He got that over.
Jesus, man. You know, I thought, and when I look back on it, and he was one of the first people to like really wear suits out to the ring and like have that really braggadocious heel persona. I thought I was like, wow, like he was really the first one to do that. He got that over.
He was a very quiet talker during that period,
Yeah.
and it was an interesting period of Jericho's career.
Yeah, that was the time when like Jack Swagger was like he got a major push and was the world heavyweight champion. It was a real bad
Didn't
time
he
for him.
have he had Barrett like come out with him too?
Wade Barrett?
Yeah, Wade Barrett was like his bro at that point.
Was that
He was his NXT rookie.
Oh yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was such a weird time.
It was
of
a very
wrestling.
weird time in wrestling.
God,
Wasn't
that's a
that
weird
fun?
time.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm going back to the match. So Lance Storm, I think, is also one of the more underrated superstars.
Very much so.
In the WWE. He was always made fun of his like lack of personality.
Right.
And they even talk about it during the match. Like he has no emotions. And
I tried to explain that to Mike earlier that Stone Cold called him boring, and it just kind of became this thing that he was the boring wrestler.
yeah. And I think it was just because he didn't have like a really flashy gimmick. He was just a technical wrestler.
God, he's so good though.
But he is good. He's really good. And I didn't realize, but he was one half of the Impact players with Justin Incredible.
Who I hate. I can't stand Just Incredible.
That's a perfect name, though.
Oh,
That's a really cool ass name.
It's terrible.
Oh, get out of here. They were very successful, but Jericho was his first opponent in his first match. Didn't know that. They broke into the business together and met at the Heart Dungeon. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Learned a lot of stuff from when you listen to Mick Foley and Joey Styles do commentary.
I really liked Mick on that too.
Mick did a pretty good job. Start off the match though, they're really getting a feel for each other. Headlock takedowns, leg scissor kick ups from both superstars, and then Jericho attempts a monkey flip. Lance cartwheels out of it, and they trade arm drags, and there's just like epic standoff. You get an ECW chant off the bat right there, and then Chris scores a takedown, puts Storm in a bow and arrow. Again, Joey Styles is one of my favorite commentators because I didn't know what that move was called, but that's pretty cool to know. Chop to the chest of Jericho, Irish whip to the corner. Jericho hits a beautiful middle rope drop kick right on the money, knocks him down. So apparently the building made them use mats, which I didn't realize, but Joey Styles, of course, commentates about
Fucking Hammerstein
everything.
Ballroom.
Yeah, he was like, fucking, he didn't say pussies. He said fucking sissies. Making us use mats. We don't use mats. Lance is actually pretty freaking strong as well. I didn't realize this though, but he like did like a delayed vertical suplex. Just holds him in the air, letting the blood rush to his head. We get a "fuck him up" chant from the crowd. Fuck him up.
That's that ECW crowd.
Yeah, that's wow. Yeah, very different from the WWE style. Anyway, so there's an Irish whip that Jericho does to Lance Storm, and he literally hops all the way up to the top rope, which I didn't know he was that athletic. You really don't see it like in his WWE style. You didn't see him do these type of maneuvers. He hops to the top rope and he attempts something. It looks like a crossbody or something like that, and he gets a drop kick to the back of his head.
Dude, that was a great spot.
And it was a huge spot, huge pop too. You get a holy shit chant right afterwards.
Jericho right on the money to Lance Storm's head during that. It was really good.
It was. And running insecurity from Jericho, they trade German suplex attempts. It's countered into a roll-up, 2 count both ways. And then you get a Chris Candido chant. I was hoping you can elaborate on why they started chanting Chris Candido.
I don't remember. Like, maybe 2005. Candido might have just passed away at that point.
I think he did.
I think maybe they did like a tribute spot to him. That's something
right.
that he did, and then like the fans got behind
he was
it.
with TNA at the time, so they obviously weren't going to do a tribute or anything like
Right.
that. Right.
It was a tough thing, and like those guys traveled with Candido a lot, and it was. That was a tough period, I think, in wrestling.
He was before my time, so I don't know much about Chris Candido. But was he like a ECW guy or like?
So he did some ECW. He did a big run in WWE, where he was tag team partners with Dr. Tom Pritchard. They were managed by Sonny. God, what they were not the Heavenly Bodies. What were they called?
Well,
Keep going, and
I'll let you
find
figure
out.
that out. Yeah, Jericho hit something that looks like a tiger suplex. Basically, it's a German suplex, but both arms are like chicken wing behind the fighter. Gets a 2 count out of that, and then Lance Storm apparently was inactive, which I didn't know. He was sitting on his couch for a little while.
The Body Donnas. I'm so stupid. It was the Body Donnas. Yeah.
Oh,
Idiot.
stupid idiot!
Stupid idiot.
Storm hits a back heel kick after countering a power slam, and then you get a cradle pile driver attempt on Jericho, who reverses it and does one of the ugliest like back body drops I've ever seen. It was ugly as hell. But then Storm follows it up with one of the deepest super kicks, and he honestly has one of the sweetest super kicks in the game. I think it's better than Shawn Michaels or anyone else, because that
He's good.
puts all his goddamn body into it. And you get a 2 count from that. A lot of jokes are made about Lance Storm and his emotions, which we all know. I mean, he's a little bit of a blander character, but you can really see his athleticism in this match.
Lance Storm, though, good follow on Twitter. He throws out good points and good takes.
Lance, and he'll come on Jericho's podcast some, and I think he might have his own podcast. But like Lance Storm is a very like even keeled guy, but he drops like some hot takes that are very, very smart dude. Like you know that this guy knows what he's talking about.
He just strikes me as, I mean, I've only seen 23 minutes of matches with him, but he just strikes me as like kind of a reserved guy. He's got like a Marine haircut. Like
he does look like somebody that like was in the Marines,
kind of just here to do work.
Very Canadian.
Go on, Cookie. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna follow that up by saying like Lance Storm actually, like I was looking into him and he has his own wrestling school.
Yeah,
and he's brought a lot of NXT superstars. To that school. Or
he might have
NXT.
even trained Perfect 10. I think he like
Did
that
he
was
train
one
him?
of the
I didn't
guys.
know he trained Sean Spears. Wow. So Storm attempts a superplex from the top rope, and Jericho counters that and suplexes him back into the ring. And Jericho does his like vintage spinning elbow. He gets a 2 count. Next chant, fuck John Cena. Fuck John Cena chant in the middle of Jericho and Storm. It was beautiful.
Was John Cena? John Cena was just coming out there.
He was the main event of that match or that pay-per-view.
So
Really?
John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena versus Rob Van Dam.
No, that was the next year.
That was the next.
That was the next
So
year.
John
yeah.
Cena did ECW first.
No. So like you could tell that ECW was like really resentful to John Cena, and at that point, like anything John Cena would do, like it was like the antithesis of ECW. Yeah. So there was like a really big backlash towards John Cena for like smart marks at that point in time in wrestling, and it was a weird time because John Cena is amazing.
Yeah,
I love John Cena, even though like maybe he's not the like most technical wrestler in the world, but like that's kind of like what
his shtick.
Yeah, his shtick was like he was a big dude.
Yeah, he was a
And
brawler.
he was good.
He was a brawler,
And he
but,
never gave up and had ruthless aggression.
But he did not get over with the ECW crowd. They just do not like him at all. Anyway, going back to what I was talking about, Jericho. Sorry, next chant was a "fuck you, John Cena," and then there was an Irish whip that got countered into a single leg walls of Jericho. Should I say?
Boston Crab. Tolbert's checked out today.
No, he really
He's
is.
been chilling, just laying back on the couch.
Jericho counters the single leg Boston Crab into the real walls of Jericho, and then you get a fucked up chant. Wait, hold on. Wait, what the fuck did I say? Fucked up chant from the fans after Jericho's. A you fucked up chant.
Yes.
You get a you fucked up chant after Jericho like stumbles, and they and ECW was typical for doing this.
Right.
Whenever someone would fuck up, they would chant you fucked
Cookie,
up.
you would be
fucked
right
up.
there with them.
Yeah, because I hate botches. Damn it. Jericho can't sink in the walls of Jericho, so he slingshots him into the turnbuckle, and he hits his running bulldog. He attempts a lion salt. Storm brings both of his knees up. Jericho takes his legs and puts him in the walls of Jericho. And then that's when you get interference from Don Marie, who jumps on the ropes as Jericho has it locked in. Jason Knight, who's apparently called the sexiest man alive. Don't know where that comes from, but I guess that's his gimmick. And Justin Credibles also comes out, and they both come to assist Storm. And one gets slapped in the face, and the other one gets a springboard drop kick from Jericho. Jericho rolls up Storm in the process after he knocks both of those guys down. Storm counters him at 2, but with that pin, Jericho chose Storm propels him forward basically once he kicks out. Credible times it perfectly and nails Jericho with a Singapore cane over the head as Jericho's stumbling forward after getting pushed out of that pin. Storm gets the win. 1, 2, 3.
Cookie? Your cookie count.
I was tossing it up, and I think
Tossing
I'm gonna.
them cookies.
I was tossing them up, and I was like, do I give it 4? Do I give it 4.5? I'm gonna give it 5 cookies.
What? How would that work?
I'm giving it 5, man.
There's
I'm
one thing
giving
we
it
know.
5.
It's Cookie likes cookies.
He does like cookies.
I like this. There was never a point in this match where I said wrap it up. There was good storytelling.
Cookie
It was
likes
short.
like
Yeah,
11-minute
it
match.
was 11 minutes.
It was 11 minutes, and it was a solid match for 11 minutes, and it kept me entertained the entire time.
Cookie. Speaking of cookies, I want you to reach under the couch right now.
Yeah, just reach under the couch right there.
Yeah,
Pull
Cookie.
out.
We have some unfinished business.
So
Hey, don't put it on the carpet. It's
As-
gonna. It's gonna.
we need an accurate.
as Cookie right now, let me tell you. Can we zero out that scale?
I drank a beer.
So Cookie last week on our show claimed that he was 225. Cookie today, you can take the stuff out of your pockets if you'd like.
You can take your shoes off.
I will.
Take your shoes off if you'd like.
Go run a couple laps.
I might.
So as Cookie claimed last week he was 225 pounds, we gave him shit about that because we didn't think. I mean, like,
Hold on.
are we zeroed out?
Hold on. Yeah, say what you guys say. I got it.
I'm almost done. So
right.
today we're actually going to weigh Cookie. Cookie, we are zeroed out right now. Let's find out. Step on the scales.
240.
240. I said it. I said 240 last week. I said I'm a fucking carny. That's 240.
240.
This scale is rigged. Scale's rigged. 10 pounds. I said I fluctuate. I fluctuate. I'm getting down.
Taking a shit doesn't count, Cookie.
I am gonna attempt to get down to 225.
When? By when? Give us a date.
I'll give you.
We'll
give you a date.
do a weight loss challenge sometime.
We're gonna do a weight loss challenge, and I'm saying, what is it? Episode 24.
Yeah,
by
we're episode 24.
By episode 30.
That's
That's
6 weeks.
6 weeks from now, dude.
You're gonna
You
lose.
do a full program by then, man.
I figured episode 30 makes it really even.
All right. Well, there
By
you
episode
go.
30, it's not gonna be 240. Remember this.
245.
All right, for our final matchup of the evening, the high spot, we've got Chris Tolbert, and he has got Chris Jericho versus Perry Saturn in WCW.
Oh man, this is a pretty good high spot match, man. So this is early WCW days. So Jericho comes out in his African hippie poncho.
Yeah, it was very nice.
This
Yeah,
is
he
like
was-
his lion. That's when he's starting the whole Lionheart lion.
No. This is the end of his WCW
Okay.
career. So he's coming out. I don't know why, because I guess it was. Excuse me. Was this 98 or 99? It was.
It was 90.
It was February 21st, 1999.
All right, so he has Ralphus at that time, which is my favorite WCW character ever.
So Ralphus comes out in a full-on old lady church dress.
Yeah, can somebody explain this to me? I'm
Yeah.
watching it right now.
Would you like to learn about Ralphus, or would you
Yeah.
like to learn about why they're in a dress?
Both.
So the match was supposed to be whoever lost this match had to wear a dress. And it was weird because Saturn comes out in a dress.
Yeah, and he comes out in a dress because he lost at Sold Out back in January, and the stipulations of the match where you had to wear a dress.
Oh, so that's what it was.
So Saturn comes out in a dress after they make their way to the ring, and I guess the storyline is he could have taken it off by now, and he's still wearing it. It's what they're kind of hinting at, I guess. But yeah, and he actually wears it well. He's a very big man. Perry Saturn's fucking huge. And I have a note about his eyes. You remember those glasses you used to wear with the fake eyes? You know, they look really
Yes.
big and weird. That's what his eyes look like.
Who, Saturn?
Yeah.
Really?
He has the weirdest looking eyes.
So Ralphus was actually a WCW truck driver, right? And Chris Jericho thought he was funny backstage and decided to bring him out and got him over as like one of the biggest things
Classic
in WCW.
Jericho.
Yeah.
Jericho into dashiki, man. Like,
Yeah, look at him. He is chilling. And then like people are talking shit and Ralphus is like, he would like sick Ralphus on him. It's hilarious. He's got the earrings and everything. But they make it to the way to the ring. You think the match's going to start, and of course Jericho cuts a promo. grabs the mic. I was not a Jericho fan. I watched all of his matches. I liked his wrestling. I hated him as a character. He was whiny. He was always on the mic. He was just showboaty. But I mean, he got you to hate him for sure. So he gets on the mic, just kind of talk shit to Saturn about him wearing a dress, saying how ridiculous he looks. But Saturn pisses him off. He goes right to work in the dress. We get some big back body drops from Saturn, a huge elbow off the curtain, just pummeling Jericho pretty much, just kind of throwing him around like a rag doll. He gets a huge whip into the barrier. I mean, just absolutely flings Jericho into the barrier, and we get some action in the crowd. Makes their way back to the ring. A couple more whips and suplexes. We have a big, I've never heard it called this. I thought it was belly, a T-bone suplex.
I think that's what they called it for Saturn.
Yeah, from us. He has pretty much names for all of his moves. It was crazy. But a T-bone suplex. Again, just throwing Jericho around. We have a little catapult from Saturn, sending Jericho out of the ring. Saturn, for such a big guy, can move around. He can get over the top rope. We got some cross bodies over the top rope. At this point, he goes in on Ralphus. He throws Ralphus into the ring and starts ripping off his dress, leaving poor Ralphus.
Sexual assault.
Yeah, leaving poor Ralphus just in his little skimpies there. So this distracts him. We get a huge drop kick from behind from Jericho, sending Saturn outside of the ring. Then we get a stiff missile drop kick off the top rope. They even make a comment about how Jericho's not necessarily that good on the top rope.
But which is weird because he's very good.
Yeah. So a stiff missile drop kick. And we start to see a little offense from Jericho. He gets some licks in from distraction. He goes for this 360 kind of crossbody slam off the top once he gets Saturn back in the ring, but it misses. And Saturn just goes right back into him, slamming him around. We get some head slams where he just grabs his head and he's just slamming it on the mat. Then we get the setup for a huge, massive frog splash from Saturn. I mean, he gets some hang time. It is.
He didn't call it a froggy.
He called it just a frog splash.
What
the fuck is wrong with this?
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. A
You
froggy
feel all right?
splash.
Are you okay, man?
And so this leads to a little cheeky kind of small package roll up from Jericho, and he's braced himself on the top rope with his feet, or the second rope with his feet. This is our first 2 count. Saturn gets out of it though, goes for a huge power bomb, but Jericho sneaks his way out of it and throws a nice crossbody. And then we have what would you call the submission hold? He has both arms locked behind him. He's just stretching them. And he can't tap.
Was that
He's
the Rings
trying
of Saturn?
Yeah, I guess it is.
I think
The Rings of
it's the
Saturn.
Rings.
Yeah, because I'm not
Yeah, it
too
was the
familiar
Rings.
with Saturn or his moves, but the crowd goes crazy.
Yeah,
He's trying to get Jericho to just say, "I give up." He can't tap, but he gets the ropes. And then we have the spot where Saturn goes for a huge, off the second rope moonsault, and then misses. Jericho hits him back with his patent lion salt. And we think we're going to see the pin here. Think it's going to be over. Saturn's finishing move, it's a fireman's carry into a brainbuster, kind of. What would you call it? He motions for it.
I forgot what they called that.
What's it called? It's called a.
I don't remember.
I don't remember Saturn at all as a kid, honestly. I never watched any of his matches. Anyway, so it's like a brainbuster. So he ends up brainbusting Jericho. And you think he's going to go in for the pin. And then he just picks up the ref and does the same for the ref and leaves them both just laying in a hump in the ring. And
It's a Death Valley driver.
Death Valley driver.
Death Valley
Okay.
driver.
And Jin just leaves. He says, "Fuck it, I'm out. I'm
That
going
was such a
shopping."
weird ending.
Yeah. And
Maybe he just
they
wants
eventually
to
get back
implement
up. They eventually get back up, ring the bell for the DQ. Jericho wins. But a strange match. Not. It was a lot of strutting about from both of them because Jericho was arrogant, likes to strut and talk shit. So you would see some back and forth, a big move. You think it's going to end, and then either one of the wrestlers would kind of just strut about, lollygag, and take their time, leading to another big spot until finally, Saturn's just over it and leaves. So I don't know, a little weird dynamic going on between the two of them.
Can we talk about Ralphus's dress?
Yeah, he
It's
looks
like an
he's
old lady.
He's like he's going to church.
Yeah, it was beautiful dress.
But yeah, just left him naked.
Naked Ralphus.
Jesus.
But I guess that leads us to the haiku for the week. How did Davenport do?
He did like 5.
Yeah, 5 or 6 of them.
He gave us multiple haikus. Oh, I just never mind. So hit me with your haiku.
All right. Ralpha says, no, as Jericho struts about. Pretty Saturn smash.
Wait, you got to give them to us each line.
Each line. I gave it to you each line.
No,
I just read each line.
What's the first line?
Yeah, I missed the first line.
Ralpha says, no.
Second line.
As Jericho struts about.
Okay. And then the third line?
Pretty Saturn smash.
Okay, there you go. That is
pretty. He wore that dress very well, and dude, he beat the fuck out of Jericho. There's some stiff punches.
He was
body
known as a
slams.
stiff
He's
wrestler.
a big dude.
Yeah,
He is.
Yeah.
He's short, though. He's not
Well,
too
he's
tall.
I forgot to mention there is a he gets him in the corner. He puts his head in the dress
Yeah, he was punching it.
and just punches the shit out of him. That was pretty funny too.
All right, so that is it for this week's episode of $2 Steak. You got to hear all sorts of fun stuff this week. You got to find out $240.
240.
$240.
I thought we were gonna weigh in and do a combined weight of the podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want us to do that after?
Everybody else should weigh in,
Yeah, let's
so I
do
don't
that.
feel like the only fat boy here.
All right,
We're
we're
all
gonna
fat.
weigh in.
Yeah, that's
All right, so Tolbert, give me your weight. You're zeroed out. Tolbert
236.
weighing in tonight at a whopping 236 pounds. Chris Tolbert. Here comes Mike.
286.
286. All right, I guess I got to do this one.
Oh yeah, take the nasal spray out. That'll definitely weigh you down.
228.
228. He's also the shortest one. You're not?
286 and then 228 makes it
990.
Yeah, we're under 1,000.
We're under 1,000.
Hey, we're not that fat.
Not that fat.
We're not that fat.